Wave.mp. I started my voice acting career, had my demo produced there, and I'm buying a house.
We just put a chair here. He goes, Rick, beautiful.
I'm not really sure, but I can confidently say that that's not a priority. I'm sorry. I know it's crazy. How do we empower our kids to be more successful, to grow, to get ahead, to build wealth? What are debt-free educational pathways, vocational learning opportunities? How can we lead the country in education? New York State should be leading the country in a lot of things with the amount of money that we're spending.
Rick, welcome back.
Welcome back, Mustafa.
Season 2
Season
already.
2.
We're 13 episodes deep. We're here at the Cigars at the Castle podcast, here at Castle Cigars, 2666 Hamburg Street, Schenectady, New York.
Here we are. We missed last month.
Yes, we did.
I think it just kind of time escaped us. I know you have your venture going on.
Yes. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yep, your venture. A lot of things have happened in just 1 month here. That's what it's all about, progression, movement. So we're glad to be back. Thank you for everybody who's going to be watching tonight and getting to watch it anytime that you want, too. That's
it. That's the
best
beauty
part
of it.
about this.
Yes.
So,
Now, this episode should be coming out late July. We're going to break the fourth wall a little bit here. We're recording the end of June, right before July 4th. So we're feeling a little patriotic today, right?
Patriotic.
That's
you know,
it.
next week is 4th of July.
I'm sure it's a busy day for you in both places.
Both, you know, this whole week coming up is going to be busy. You know, being in business for 30 years, I know what's going to happen.
Right.
A good idea what's going to happen.
Right.
You know, people are getting ready for the 4th, so they're going to get all their cigars, they're going to get all their jewelry, maybe someone's going to get engaged, you know, by a lake or wherever, you know, they're going to propose. It's just awesome.
Yes.
You know, so holidays, you know, they come once a year, so,
Right.
you know.
Right. And you're a very special part of both kind of opposite ends of the spectrum of those holidays, right? Jewelry store, right? Proposing, and then having some cigars with your buddies out at the lake somewhere, right?
How can you beat it? You know, I just had a gentleman. He called me up. I had gotten my leased car from him. He goes, I got to get cigars. He goes, I got to call Rick.
Right.
And he came in. He was doing he was gonna have a baby. So all his buddies were gonna come over, and so he got a nice bundle from me, and there's another celebration. You know, so cigars are just a get together, relaxing, camaraderie, loyalty, royalty, the whole thing that I had embraced and uncrusted.
Yes.
You know,
Right.
kind of like the dinosaur age where we now are reinventing it. We're coming back, and it's just great, just great.
Oh, it's absolutely beautiful, and I love what you're doing with the cigar shop in general. I mean, so much progression has been made over here, even in just the few years that I've been around here. I mean, you've really taken this place to a whole nother level to really anybody that's in this area.
Yeah, they come in, you can relax, you can watch a game, you want to go read a book, you want to play some chess, you want to get involved with cornhole, you want to get involved with just sitting and relaxing.
Yes.
You know, you have everything right here. I'm going to be introducing a new entity. I don't know if I should put it out tonight or we wait for next episode.
Well, this is going to come out at the end of July, so.
So what do you think? We should let it
I
out
think
of the
this
bag
might,
now?
Yeah.
Let it out of the bag now. So what I'm going to be doing is, I get so many people in here, I'm going to be doing a promotion on hair cutting.
Okay.
I'm going to put a barber chair in here, okay? And we're going to have barber pole cigars.
Okay.
So you're going to be able to sit, relax, have a game on, and have your barber pole cigar.
That's it.
And that all happened because I said to my guy who cuts my hair, I said, hey, can you think you can come here? I'm busy between both. And he has a couple of young kids, and he said he used to do that. He just doesn't have the time. And believe me, we all know about time, right?
Right. That's
all
it.
gets tight, making your list and,
Yes.
and getting your stuff done. So and then I said, well, why don't we just put a chair here? He goes, Rick, beautiful, right? So that's going to be happening. Very excited about that. And this chair that's come in is a very antique chair. It's like from the 40s. And it's in like primo shape. I'm very excited about it because now I don't have to go out of my way for an hour and do this when I'm going to do it right here having a cigar.
Right. There it is.
So that'll be posted on Facebook. There'll be appointments for it. So we're going to go from there. So that's the new entity. So
Okay.
couple of months not being on, we're going to get everything back up to speed.
Yes.
I don't like to miss, but we, like you said, and you had a lot of things going on.
Yeah. I mean, between running Wave.mp, I started my voice acting career, had my demo produced there, and I'm buying a house. So, I mean, it's been going, yeah.
How
that's my day
exciting is
job.
that?
It's very exciting.
Since you've been coming to the castle,
Yes.
look what's happened.
Yes.
Look what's happened to all these people out here.
That's it.
It's unbelievable.
I can't thank you guys enough for pushing me to that next level, because I really was in my shell. Again, I was going to be happy affiliate marketing, doing whatever,
Just stay
hiding
there.
behind a screen, right, and just making money that way. Now I'm out in front of people. I'm basically the face of the business. You know, my partner, great salesperson, great to work with, very intelligent person, but they come to me.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's coming to me, like, you're the face of the business. Hey, we want to talk to Mufasa. It's like, wow, all right, let's go.
And I know I probably mentioned in another podcast, but when Mustafa first came in here, he was sitting here, he was reading a book, he was very quiet, he was, like you said, he was in his shell, and I walked up to him and said, hey, buddy, how you doing? We started talking, and just in a day at a time in the growth, look what's happened.
That's it.
I mean, and the friendship,
Yes.
the friendships that are built here are great.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so I don't want to bore you with all that stuff.
Right.
What we want to do is let's talk about what you're smoking tonight.
We don't want to talk about what you might be possibly smoking tonight. There's only, a handful of cigars that it could be.
Only a handful. Now, if everybody's been watching the podcast and went on, I smoke the Punisher. I can't help it. It's the only one. People go, and it's funny, I turned a couple people onto it. I had a gentleman this morning came to my jewelry store and bought a 10-pack today.
Of Punishers.
Of Punishers.
What have you done?
Because I was talking about it, he goes, Rick, I got to give a couple of them to my buddies. Oh my God, they're going to love them. So
What have you done?
I'm making the Punisher the clan. But, it's cigars, that's my palate. It's when you get, that's why all the new people, everybody that comes in here, you're going to try them. You're going to take a picture of them. You're going to do stuff.
Yes.
And you're going to try it. And it doesn't matter if it's a $5 cigar or a $50 cigar. If that's what you like and that's what you enjoy, that's what you smoke.
That's it.
So yeah, I have the Punisher.
That's
so
it. So
that's that. So
he's got the Punisher.
What do you got, Mustafa?
I have the Cerberus. Now, this is...
Okay.
See, I got a cool
I'm ready.
name.
Let's go.
All right. So this is coming from Aganoso. It is a Nicaraguan blend cigar. Okay. Brian actually gave me a little bit of insight on what the background behind this family was. This family was just a growing family in Nicaragua, and they built their way up to where they actually started making their own cigars. And in 2003, they had a completely separate name under the family's name. In 2015, they rebranded and actually became Aganosa. I'm going to mess up this name.
That's all right.
Aganosa.
Starts with an A.
Starts with an A. I love you guys. I'm sorry. You have a great cigar. I love this thing. But you're going to notice a lot of spicy notes in here. Now, this is going to be a lot different from when I started last year when the podcast was on. I was smoking a lot lighter cigars, a lot of flavored cigars. This is going to have a little bite to it, and that's going to give me a little bit more flavor. But now that my palate has evolved over this amount of time smoking cigars, I can take in those flavors and actually enjoy them instead of just getting tobacco taste in my mouth and not knowing what it is.
And that's the beauty of this is that you get to try all these and really build up your palate,
Yes.
and I love it when all the new guys come in, they're a little timid and this and that, and I get them right in there and go, all right, this is what we're going to start you out with, we're going to do this, and the next time you come in, we're going to do this. So I kind of put them on a plan.
Right.
Almost like a, I don't know, diet plan, maybe, but it's a cigar plan, right? And they come back in and they go, hey, Rick, what do you think? And then we grow from there.
Yes.
So listen, let's fire these up. Come
Let's
on.
light 'em up.
'Cause we have other things we're going to be doing tonight. We
Yes.
have another guest coming in. We're very excited for this.
Yes.
And because his schedule is very tight, Like I said, like everybody's schedule, I respect everybody's schedule, and I respect everybody who's going to take their time out to watch this.
That's
so
it.
let's fire them up.
Let's fire them up.
All right, let's go. You know, after a hard day's work, and you get to come here, you get to take this, sit down, relax. It's the greatest entity. You know, everybody knows I've been a jeweler for 36 years. I can't say enough how much of an offspring this was to really bring it all together. And all the people who have been in here, hey, Rick, I need a battery, I need, my son's getting engaged, or whatever the case may be. That was just another thing that made this place even greater than what it already was.
That's it.
So, you know,
Yeah.
how good is that, huh?
That is.
But, you know, getting into that cigar, one thing I learned from some rollers is that as you're smoking the cigar, yeah, you are going to see some notes, some different things coming on. But I'll never forget the one guy who said to me, he goes, you cannot really grade a cigar or say anything till you get through the whole cigar.
Yes.
You know, you get a quarter, half. When you're done with that cigar, that's when you say, you know, really say, how good was that?
Right.
You know, will I smoke that again? I don't want people to just take a cigar because they're expensive today.
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
It's a luxury, and I take that luxury serious between both entities. So, you know, when you get through all that, maybe on the next podcast you could tell them how good it was.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
so that's a nice little follow up, so they know
Right.
that Aganosa was, you know,
Yes.
was a good one. So, you know, and if it wasn't good, we're going to tell you.
That's it.
And I was going to tell you, oh, you know, it was new, try it. No, we're going to let you know kind of ahead of time, especially this season. You know, all you guys out there, I mean, who are seasoned smokers will definitely appreciate the insight
Yes.
of it. So,
Right. And that's it. That's exactly it. Now, another thing that I did learn that we are going to go over today is what Brian has told me. He said, you can't judge a cigar until you smoke it all the way, like you were saying, but also smoke it 3 times.
oh, that's a good
First
one,
time,
yeah.
you might have had a great day, right? You might have had the best day at work, got a promotion, got a raise. You smoke a cigar, no matter what cigar that was, most likely that's going to be a great cigar to you. Next time you smoke it, hey, you got a divorce, right? Your car just got dinged in the parking lot. You got laid off. Something terrible happened to you. You smoke a cigar, you're going to hate that cigar because that's just the day you're having. So smoke it 3 times. And that'll tell you if you really like that cigar.
Like 3 strikes, you're out.
That's it.
like it's, you know, it's again education. You know, education on these. It's important. You know, so that's
Yes.
a good theory. It's a good theory. I never heard that one before. You know, this is why, you know, we're in tune. We're going.
Yes.
We're learning. We want to put anything that we get, we want to put out right away.
That's it. If I learn it, I want to share it with you guys.
Absolutely.
And vice versa. I hope that you share in the comments below. Give us some of your cigar tips. What are some of the best that you've heard and that you've learned? And we'll follow up on those. We'll share those in the next podcast.
Beautiful.
Right?
All right, so we're going to get into the questions because, like I said, we have a guest that's going to be coming on. I'm pretty excited about it,
Yes.
and don't want to let this go too long. So we want to be done in about maybe 10 minutes,
Yes.
and then we're going to bring them on. So all right,
That's it.
so what do we got?
All right, let's go through the questions that I have here on my list. I went back to the paperback list. I had some feedback that the cell phone was a little distracting to look at, the light coming up. So got rid of that. We're back to the paper.
Boom.
I'm okay with that.
Back to the paper.
All right.
No, that's the list. That's where you still.
Yeah.
Pen and paper, it's still there, It's still around.
Yeah. I'm gonna start etching things into stone next time, and we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll start here. Happy 4th of July, Rick.
Happy 4th of July. Always good.
Always good.
To be our freedom, and it's real important. All
Right.
our service people out there, everybody who's protecting the country.
Yes.
anything going in politics, whatever, good, bad, deaf, left, right, I don't care. We're all Americans on American soil. Okay? Let's treat each other better. Let's compliment each other. Let's grow together.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of segregations these last couple of years. You know, but I can't control everything or anybody out there. But I just go. All I do is go. Let's get back to the basics.
That's it.
The basics.
Right.
You know, the handshake. You know, I know we went through COVID. We went through all that stuff, horrible stuff. But you know what? We're strong. We're here.
Yes.
And next Thursday, we're gonna all celebrate that. And
Yes.
by the way, next Thursday, I'm off. Next Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's like a vacation for me. I wonder what I'll be doing. Let's see. But, you know, maybe we'll throw some cornhole out there. Anybody wants to come by, if you're not leaving out of town, going to the boat, going wherever you're going to do, you never know. So, all right, so let's go.
All right. So let's talk about that a little bit. Why is it so negative? Why is there so much negativity around being an American? What is in our own country, from our own people? Why are they so negative about it?
Well, I think, first of all, I mean, you know, you go back to the 60s, 70s, and 80s, whatever. I'm no history buff, but, you know, just from experience and now going through it, you know, let's face it, the economy right now is, you know, people are paying expensive. Everything's out of touch. And, you know, so people, of course, are going to be a little more negative. They're going to be more frugal with their money, you know. So hopefully that changes. I know money definitely is a big force in people's lives. You know, I always know. I remember when I didn't have really a lot of money. You know, no money, no fun. Right.
Right.
You get some money, have
Right.
some fun.
Right.
Okay. So, and you know, everybody's kind of struggling out there. Hopefully that'll change.
Yes.
You know, I was just talking to somebody the other day when I got married back in '90, and I had gotten a house. You know what I was paying interest rate back then?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was me.
See, it was 19%. 19% interest. Unbelievable. Now, am I still here? Did we kick some butt? Did we move forward? Did we work hard? That's what we do as Americans. So, everybody, take a good look. Let's get back on track. You know, let's make it a better place to live.
That's it.
And that's it. That's all I got. I mean, I know that every day I wake up, routine, get to the jewelry store, get to the cigar shop, take care of people, take care of business, take care of yourself. Then you can take care of others.
Yes.
That's how it goes.
Yes.
So, and everybody's time, like I said, is tight. So the people that get this really grow, you know, can
Yes.
experience, you know.
Right.
We had a lot of people who came in here who were shells, and now they're starting to,
Yes.
you know, so.
Starting
All right.
to bloom.
But
Now,
what do you think about that? Is it kind of on track with that? You know,
I believe
just
so.
gotta treat each other better, you know. Like,
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to ask you, because again, you can read all you want in a history book, right? And we can all look up what they've done to history books in the public school system over the last 20 years. You know, they've changed things to meet their own benefit and, you know, change what actually happened and mess with the past. You lived it. No one can mess with your past.
No.
You were there. So that's why I want to know, how long has it been since you've kind of noticed this uptick in, like, anti-patriotic?
I'd say definitely the last 3 years.
The last 3 years, since COVID, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, people really kind of, and I get it.
Right.
But we're here one time. One time.
Right.
You know, I just turned 62. I'm really 25. Let's go.
Let's go. That's it.
Let's go.
Yes.
Okay. Got one life to live. Make it the best.
Yes.
You know.
And
so,
you also mentioned a very good point in there. When people don't have a lot of money, you know, people become more frugal and they get a little more pessimistic, right? So let's bring back the small business economy. That's another great thing, and I'm glad we're doing this podcast because we can teach people how to open their own businesses, how to get their businesses running and up and going, right?
you did.
I did it right off.
You did.
I've got
You know?
2 going right now. So,
Right.
I mean, anybody can do it if they really want to do it. And in this time, we need it more than ever. Small businesses, we need you. If you're passionate about something, please open a small business. Let me know what it is. I want to come support it.
Beautiful. You can come to the castle. You can meet us. You can sit down. We'll talk.
Yes.
We always will make time for that, no matter what.
Yes.
You know, if we have to shift something over here to get this, we're going to do it.
Yes.
Period.
And motive of why you're doing things really matters. You know, if your motivation is only money, we talked about this before, it's great to have, you know, go out on the boat, have the house, whatever. Okay, cool. What's the rest of your life? Are you just a boat and a house guy, right? Or are you somebody else? Why do you personally take care of your customers?
Because I want to make sure, I want to see what I'm made of. I want to see what people are made of. I want to bring out the best of people. As you see things grow around you, and you can see the smiles on people's faces, and you can see if they're going through a rough time, they'll say, "Hey, Rick, you got 5 minutes? I got to talk to you for a second," or whatever the case may be.
Right.
That motivates me more than anything, you know, to help someone. In any entity, the jewelry business or here,
Right.
you got to practice it. You got to do it. You got to get out there
Yes.
and attempt it. If you fail, big deal. Try it again.
There it is.
You know, just
That's
do it again.
Just
So,
try it again.
Yeah, try it
Yeah.
again.
And that's why I really wanted to do this podcast, because motivation is contagious, and I knew it would catch me over time, and I wanted to share that with everybody else that's out there. You are one of the most motivational people without trying to be motivational, right? Like, you're not writing a script
No.
and being like, oh, well, this is what I'm going to say and this is how I'm going to say it. You walk up to a podium and the whole crowd stands up at the end of it, because that's who you are, right? You live and breathe this every single day, and it's contagious, and I love it. And that's, I'm sure the people that are out there watching, there's a reason that we have so many subscribers, right? There's a reason that we have so many watchers. There's a reason that people ask questions, right? Like, it's because it's contagious.
contagious.
People want to go with it.
Yeah.
And we need more of that. We desperately need more motivation around everywhere.
And that's what I try to just have it come off and just do it.
Yes.
Just do it.
Yes.
You know. So
Now, there are some detriments that are in business, and one of those are taxes. But taxes are great. You know, they help the economy. They help the people that are in your neighborhood. They're supposed to do that, right? Okay. How have increased taxes in the business made it more difficult for you to take care of those customers that we were speaking about earlier?
well, you know, they'll you know, they know that they're paying a lot more for the cigar tax and all this, and I just try to keep the prices to the best price I can.
Right.
Because we're still going to enjoy this cigar. We're still going to get together, and hopefully, the upper echelon takes a good look at this and says, "Huh, okay." You know, the way I look at it is, if you took the last 5 years prior COVID to after, and do the numbers.
Right.
How are the sales in New York? Did they drop because of the tax? Did we make even on it because we have the tax? I mean, they know the numbers.
Right.
Okay, all I know is that it has definitely affected. So you have to weave and bob with other things inside your business
Yes.
to make some extra money.
Right.
You know, you got to look at all your other entities. So because it's just not cigars here.
Right.
You know,
Right.
it's a start, but that is our main goal. Yeah, the taxes. You know, it is life. We have to do that.
Right.
But you know, until we can maybe get somebody who really would listen and understand, or maybe come in and see what's going on here, and see that pulling all these people together. You know, it's
Right. All the camaraderie, all
Right.
the
Everything.
friendship, all the fun that's had here.
yeah.
There could be so much more of it.
There could be so much more, and then off that, maybe they open more businesses.
Yes.
Okay.
Now you can get their
Now
money
they-
from that. and
Right, and then, which offsets that big tax.
Right.
You know, being in business for over 30 years, you know, I've done my due diligence. Okay, and I knew right after I opened where the tax was going to go. But you know what? I love this entity so much. I was around it prior, and so here we are.
Right. It didn't
So-
deter you from doing it.
Right, it didn't deter me because I'm going.
Right.
I'm going.
That's it.
And we have a lot of choices in life. I was blessed with this one, believe me. Gave me a whole new life, and you know, so hopefully that gets worked around, maybe looked at.
Right.
That's all you can do. That's all
That's
you
it.
can do.
That's
So,
it. One step at a time.
one step
we
at a
take
time.
It there.
So
Yes.
hopefully we get enough people who maybe they'll hear our voice and say, maybe we should just maybe just take another look at it.
Right.
You know, just take a look at it.
Right.
You know, look at the whole. You know, I like to look at the whole picture. You know, before, you know, we always look at maybe a quarter, half, or
Right.
look at the whole picture. Take your time.
Mm-hmm.
But we all are here for a short time. So my thing is, make it happen today. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. Make it the fullest day you can, and
Yes.
let's go forward.
That's it. Yeah. And speaking of people who can listen to you and make changes happen, we have somebody here who can actually listen, who can take in any questions that we have, and they can make changes.
That's right, and that's why we're doing this tonight too. I mean, I just think it's a great thing, and believe me, there's a lot of people I've met throughout the years, and I, you know, we all have our beliefs, we all have our things, but I figured that, you know, he's been around, I see the growth, I see what he's doing, I see how he's coming around people, how he's determined to make things better, like we are.
Yes.
Okay, and without seeing or meeting or whatever, you don't know.
Right.
You know, to me, it's all hearsay.
Right.
You know, hear from the horse's mouth, man. That's how I roll.
That's it.
You know, so
Yeah.
what else we got?
That would be all we have right here
That's
for
about
us.
everything we got for us.
Yes.
You know, like I said, that was pretty good. I kept it just about 13 minutes, but hey, you know.
Right.
Enjoying the cigar with Mustafa. I don't see I see him a couple of times. He's busy now. He's got his businesses. He's buying a house. You know, he's becoming an American. He's doing the American dream, getting a house.
Yep.
And he persevered, asked questions, got to the right people, and he's making it happen.
That's it.
I mean, what more can you ask for?
Not much.
You know,
Not much.
that's pretty impressive.
Thank you.
So I'm going to go get our gentleman, and you got him ready.
Yeah, he's gonna be ready. Yeah.
We'll be right back.
We'll be right back.
Where my lane is, where other people's lanes are, how to delegate, and
Right.
just stay moving, you know. But
Well, that's the best part is you know what you know, right? And you don't try to bullshit your way through it.
yeah.
If you don't know it, you're going to get somebody that knows it.
Are we rolling?
We are rolling, but
So
I take
yeah, well,
most of this out.
that's essentially kind of like that's how I see the role of, and I can repeat it if in a question if it comes up. That's how I see the role of someone in policy making, or in government administration. You're not an expert in all the things, but I'm a conduit of information.
Right.
So people come to me. You know, my leaf bags didn't get picked up. Okay, well then I tell the highway garage,
Right.
on the street around the corner, got it. Can you come back and pick up leaf bags? Little things like that. It's just about getting people in touch with the right people,
Okay.
finding who the right people are, finding who the experts are, finding how you move the needle.
Right. And that's, wow. I think we'll start there. We'll keep that in, and we'll just kind of move from there. So, Joe, I want you to first introduce yourself to the people
Okay.
who are here. Tell them who you are. Tell them where you came from and what you're doing.
Okay. My name is Joe Mastroianni. Grew up in Rotterdam my whole life, most of my life.
Right.
Went into business with my father 20 years ago. 23 years ago, he had bought Sar's Poultry Farm around the corner on Curry Road. He was in food service distribution, selling food to restaurants. He worked for Cisco Foods, and one of his customers, Joe Chan, who owned Dragon Garden on Mohawk Ave in Scotia, had also owned SARS and was primarily just selling ice-packed chicken to Chinese restaurants. But there were coolers, freezers, trucks, distribution staff. My father comes in, and we started growing the product line, getting into beef and pork,
Right.
frying oil, frozen seafood. The first 10 years that I worked there, we expanded our product line, got into produce, pasta, cleaning supplies, paper products, anything a restaurant would use, wholesale. That's what we provide to our customers, to bars, restaurants, pizza places, nursing homes, any food service establishment, firehouses doing pancake breakfast, chicken barbecues, little leagues, and 3 years ago, we moved from Curry Road to a bigger warehouse in Amsterdam, and it was around that time in the height of COVID that a bunch of people started meeting, a lot of business owners, a lot of people I was doing business with, but people north of Saratoga, south of Albany County. We were meeting in Rotterdam at Del Gallo's pool store in 2020 and 2021, and we had the social media groups who were communicating with each other. How do we push back against the mask mandates, the essential business closures, the social distancing, kind of the cramp it was putting on a lot of small businesses and people that understand freedom and didn't want oppressive government weighing down on them. And what had developed from those meetings was a lot of the people that were local in Rotterdam decided to take over the Rotterdam Republican Party and the Schenectady County Conservative Party. And I ended up running for town board in 2021.
Now, had you run for anything prior to that?
No, and I never thought of running for anything before. You know, it's not, you know, I know you got the question lined up, but, you know, I was very resistant to it. I was asked a few times, who wants to be a politician?
Right.
You know, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I had a cynical view of it that this is all corrupt and it's in silly. I have a much more mature understanding of it now. That 2021 year was a real magical experience because there were 10 of us between candidates that were running that year and people on the committee that at any given time over the course of 2021 someone was carrying the ball. You know, and we were greater than the sum of our parts. People came with their own skill sets, and I see it like all the colors of light on a rainbow and the spectrum of visible light, that we came together greater than the sum of our parts. I say it was kind of like a corny superhero movie too. Like everybody had their skill set and their own superpower. Right. And that energy that year, we won 5 out of 5 legislative seats. I swept into the majority on the town board. I came into the governing majority in a 3-2 town board.
Right.
And tremendous amount of work to be done in the town of Rotterdam. And it's been a great privilege and experience working with Supervisor Molly Collins and Deputy Supervisor Jack Dodson. And we've done a lot of great things in the 2.5 years that we've been on the board. Made a lot of changes, a lot of cultural changes. We got out of the illegally signed lease to move the police station and the court and town hall into the windowless Kmart building in Viaport.
Right. Now, a lot of people might not know about that. Do you want to kind of discuss that a little bit more?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people in Rotterdam do. You know, one of the things I really am the happiest about, most proud of is, you know, I feel like we've gotten more people aware of what's going on, more engagement. People are paying attention more to what's happening on a local level. You know, from here where we are on Hamburg Street to Five Corners, you know, we were talking about how the traffic is so thick. and the you know, the development that was happening was just, all right, put apartments in here, put apartments in there. We came in, we put a moratorium on apartments, slowed it down. There was a project that was between Fort Hunter and Curry Road for over 200 apartment units that we helped redesign down to 62 to fit more into the community. We passed a comprehensive plan that had already been in the works, but we wanted to get that passed in our first year of our administration, and we did. And that's been kind of a touchstone guiding principle for so many of the decisions in the town. And that was constructed using the feedback of the people, that we want to keep Rotterdam like it was for many of us that lived here and grew up here. Good schools, good neighborhoods, safe place to raise kids, great starter homes, but at the same time, there's extremely old infrastructure.
Yes.
The water mains break all the time. We have old buildings, which necessitated the previous administration to want to move the court, the police station, town hall to a brand new facility. But they did that without any cost, without any engineering work, without any build out cost analysis, without any life cycle cost projections. It was very hastily done, and it was done secretively. And it was a week after the 2021 election that the Albany Business Review published an article saying Supervisor Thomasone signed a 10-year lease to move town offices and the police court and court to the Viaport Mall. And, so I'm running in 2021 in the Gazette, in the League of Women Voters, and the people were starting to entertain that it had been an issue that was being explored. But then all of a sudden, the day after the election day, Supervisor Thomasone signs the lease without any, it was illegally constructed because it requires a public comment period to be able to weigh in. Right. These are the laws that, are meant so that government doesn't do hasty things like that. And it was tricky to get out of it because it's a legal document that we signed. Right. But as I was telling you before, because we, in the first 7 months, did all that evaluation of the true costs of putting plumbing underneath the concrete in the Kmart building and running all the wires and doing all the build out, that we found that it wasn't just move into this building, So when we presented the actual costs of all that, and the public saw the numbers and saw this isn't going to save us money, and the people started speaking up. A resident in our community led a signature gathering, petition drive going around in the neighborhood, in the media and Facebook, and there was just overwhelming support against making such a move, that we were able to pass a resolution saying that we don't recognize that lease as valid, and we ended up getting out of that lease. Right. The Viaport Mall, which is a major piece of real estate in business and invaluable thing in our community that we want to see benefit and thrive, that we want to work with, but we also don't want to put ourselves in a bad situation where the town is leasing space and spending a lot of money doing that, not owning anything, and giving up a lot of money to do that. We were able to get out of it. So I'm off on a few tangents.
No, I think you came right back to where we started there. Was how did you really go through that? Like, what was that process like? Now, a lot of people might not know, who are the powers that be that would push against something like that when you step up and say, hey, this isn't good for our community?
Well, one thing that I've learned is one of the strongest powers to be is the people. Right. If they're united and effective in communicating, and if there is an overwhelming the voice from the people that they want something, there isn't a power to be that can really stand against that effectively. Right. So but your question, who were the powers that wanted it? It's still kind of murky, if there was, but they decided to just take a different strategy,
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Now, can you explain what exactly are you running for?
So I'm running to represent Rotterdam, Schenectady, Scotia, Amsterdam, the town of Florida in Montgomery County, Duanesburg and Princetown in the New York State Assembly, the lower house of the legislature. There are 150 assembly districts in New York State. The upper chamber of the legislature is the Senate. There's 63 Senate districts and 63 senators in the Senate. So that's what I'm running for.
So you're running for that. What does that give you a higher power to make changes when you go to that next level? Or are you in a completely different ballpark now? Are you speaking towards something different?
It's a very different ballpark.
Okay.
You know, so I'm coming from being in the governing majority at the town board,
Okay.
where I do have a lot of influence. I do have I know a lot of people in the community. I have a lot of say what's going on. The New York State Legislature has supermajorities. The Democrat Party has supermajorities in both the Senate and in the Assembly.
Okay. Now, when you say supermajority, can you explain that a little bit?
So it's really one-party rule.
Okay.
There isn't an effective minority coalition that can, push back against what the agenda that the Democrat Party has right now, which is heavily dominated downstate, and a lot of the downstate interests are served, and there isn't an effective enough caucus upstate that can push back against that. I actually happen to be, as far as I know, as far as I've been told, the only third-party candidate in any of the 150 assembly races this year running. So I'm in the Conservative Party,
Okay.
which is the largest minor party in New York State. It's the third line on the ballot.
Okay.
The Republican Party has endorsed me, so I'm running also, as a Republican, but I'm not a registered Republican, and I would work with the Republican Party on a lot of things,
Right.
but I see being a third party person to be able to reach out to the Democrat Party, to downstate Democrats,
Okay.
and try and figure out where the solutions lie. I'm in business with my dad and my brother,
Okay.
and there's 7 of us in total, and one of the hardest people to lobby is my dad. But my, with my brother on board, we've established a dynamic. It's the private sector, so my dad is the ultimate boss. He can make the decisions without having to get approval from anybody.
Right.
But we're growing our business. Things are going well, and my father's an Italian immigrant, so he's from Calabria, which is other regions in Italy look at the Calabrese as being cabados, testadura, which means being hard-headed, stubborn. There's a little joke in The Godfather when Godfather Part 2 when Vito tries to advocate for a woman who wants to keep her dog in her apartment, but her landlord is Calabrese. So that's a little kind of subtle joke, that Corleone, who was Sicilian, was dealing with a Calabrese who was a little stubborn. But in the movie, you see what happens. He ends up, realizing what he's got to do. So, getting back to the state assembly, the New York State budget again wasn't passed on time. Bigger than it was last year, well over $200 billion at this point, $237 billion budget that our taxes have to fund, that comes down on working class people, small businesses. Wall Street doesn't pay taxes, so the budget in New York State, it's bigger than Florida and Texas combined, and they have more people in each of those states. So there's a lot of spending. A lot of spending goes into education,
Okay.
but we're graduating students without reading and writing skills, without real life skills to be able to thrive, and the education system is very cookie cutter. Kids sitting at desks. It's like a post-World War II model,
Right.
that we've outgrown. We have such great ability to learn online technology, and every kid learns different. Boys learn different than girls. Every individual learns different.
Right.
I know some boys, you're diagnosed, ADHD is on the increase, and I know a lot of boys would learn standing up with their hands, watching. There's a lot of different educational
Right.
models that aren't really explored. You got the Montessori schools, and a free market system would open the door for innovation, and would by nature create efficiency and reward excellence in teachers and programs and things. And we need a public school system where our students, our citizens, our children have the right to be able to learn, but we're not serving them with all the money that we're spending on education. So I'd be happy to work in the assembly, in the education committee, and start to explore different ideas, and how do we empower our kids to be more successful, to grow, to get ahead, to build wealth? What are debt-free educational pathways, vocational learning opportunities? How can we lead the country in education? New York State should be leading the country in a lot of things, with the amount of money that we're spending. So I would see my role. I don't have the answers, but it's like I was saying, it's about finding the experts and having the conversation and being able to communicate, getting the more voices, the more brains, and the more people we have contributing towards an idea, the better the outcome would be, right? If it was just the two of us and then there were 200 people in the other room coming up with something, I think the 200 people in the other room would, you're a smart guy. I think we could maybe take on 200. No, but really the more voices you have. But what happens when you get in large groups, things get dysfunctional. So it's about having effective communication. When I'm out campaigning, a lot of people kind of want to brush off an interaction and say, I'm not into politics, I don't pay attention to politics. And I often say to people, politics is everywhere. It's in every company, it's in every office, it's in every team, it's in every family, it's in every group of animals that travel in packs. There's political dynamics. So it's about communicating and working together and listening and understanding other people. And I think my experience working with my father has helped me, has trained me to bite my tongue, to listen, to understand, to be patient, and I, I never wanted to be a politician, but I feel like I have a skill set, that can be a part of a group in a setting like that, to try and find solutions. So education is just one component of things that I want to work on and try and find out how can we serve our next generations better? How can we serve our kids better to become powerful and to have wealth and to be happy and to have families of their own? Another thing that I've learned a lot about in my time on the town board, and even before that, is our energy policy. The current representative to this district voted for the Climate Act in 2019. It sets very ambitious goals. It's called the CLCPA, which stands for the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. What is climate leadership? That's a question that I ask a lot of people, but the idea behind it was that New York State was going to put its finger on the scales of the free market and favor renewable energies. So solar panels, solar array fields, and wind turbines, and not explore nuclear, restrict natural gas, restrict gas stoves. And the goal was that we're not going to achieve it. It's an unrealistic goal, and there's no consequence to not achieving it. But these benchmarks are put into place to put the government's hand on the scales of the free market to influence us, to try and get 70% of our electricity from wind and solar by 2030 and 100% by 2040. And and it's so that we reduce our carbon emissions. But our carbon emissions have increased year upon year since 2019 because the technology isn't quite there yet. Battery storage can only hold on to electricity for 2 to 3 hours. It's not always sunny in New York.
Right.
Peak demand is in the wintertime after dark when people come home at 5, 6 o'clock. So when the sun isn't shining or the wind isn't blowing, these natural gas peaker plants have to come in to make up for it. And what the grid needs is constant base load supply. It doesn't need intermittent bursts and droughts.
Right.
And what New York State is trying to do is to be the juice into the renewable energy industry, into solar and wind, to get a foothold in New York so that it can be replicated in other states throughout the country and throughout the world. And it's noble in its idea. So I don't want to be a politician that like yells at downstate Democrats who live in the concrete jungle, who use a lot of electricity in the subway system in Times Square and say, oh, you're wrong. No, I get what you're saying, but how can we get there? Where does solar fit in?
Right.
I have a theory that solar fits in everywhere.
Yes.
But coming from the food business, so I sell food wholesale, and 20 years I've been in the business, and I've seen it's an oligopoly now. We've got 5 meat companies that basically control the entire United States. That they have a huge influence in the farmers and the manufacturers and the packers are really kind of serving these large agribusinesses, and the rest of us selling the food, whether it's a restaurant or a distributor, just kind of have to take whatever they're telling us. And the barriers to entry for smaller scale farming doesn't exist. I believe in local farming.
Yes.
I believe that for security, we're better off if we have a local food infrastructure, and we have a rich agricultural heritage in New York, and we can produce a lot of food. And if we should be incentivizing anything, we should be incentivizing farming. It's healthier for us. It's healthier for the environment. Right. I see how large-scale agriculture is unhealthy for the environment, and it's unsustainable. Right. We're spraying chemicals out of airplanes on fields of genetically modified corn and soy, right, and then feeding that to our animals, and then giving them tons of antibiotics and putting thousands of animals in growing operations. It's unsustainable. I say that a farmer is an administrator of an ecosystem, and ideally it's a closed loop ecosystem where you have manure turns into fertilizer, and everything kind of complements the whole system. And there a lot of people that own land, they can make more money sacrificing a lot of their even productive farmland, right, to solar array fields, and it's hard to say no, especially when people are they see the money that's there, they see the opportunities to secure the future for the next generations. Exactly. But there's a place that they can have solar, and we're about to pass new solar code in the town of Rotterdam. Okay. And the purpose and intent is to, to not have these large array fields that lower property values and destroy the serenity and the beauty of the rural landscapes just 20 minutes west of us. Right. And to keep the animals and the ecosystems still in place. But there is a place where small scale solar or smaller scale solar can lighten buildings' impact on the grid. Yes. We can maximize more solar as the technology develops, where we have window panes that can collect solar electricity. There's Velcro solar that can go on the side of buildings. I tell people the panels that you see now that have been around for 10 years or so, it's like C-3PO and R2-D2. It's like the first Star Wars trilogy. It's a little clunky looking. The next trilogy has a more elegant design of what the future can look like. And we will see that. And solar and wind can be incorporated in a lot of built environments architecturally. Right. And even collect more than just saying, all right, we're going to put 100 acres there, 300 acres there. it doesn't fit in. I'm all for economies of scale and the assembly line and but the grid only has so much bandwidth.
Right.
And we can't be reserving it for intermittent bursts and droughts. It'd be like taking the New York State Thruway and saying, let's make it 10 lanes so that the 3 weekends out of the year where the traffic is backed up, it can flow freely. But then the Department of Transportation is going to have to plow all 10 of those lanes. It's just not sustainable. It doesn't make sense. And the more I learn about nuclear, and Oliver Stone came out with a movie last year, and I would have thought with all the people running for president in the past year that there would be a better discussion, people championing nuclear energy.
Right.
Oliver Stone's movie is pretty illuminating, breaking down some details, and there are other people, nuclear industry lobbyists that present a very compelling case that should be explored. It's really the only true zero emissions future, because the solar panels come from China, the materials are mined from the rainforest, and there's a carbon
even
footprint tied to all of it.
Even the cobalt alone that comes from these slave mines that are in other countries. I mean, people walk around with these high virtue signals, they're, I'm doing the right thing, I'm doing the right thing, and then you're tweeting from something that came from a slave.
Yeah.
Right? That's sitting there, that has no water, that's been doing this for 10 years. They're 8 years old, right?
Yeah.
And they're in a mine right now.
Yeah. Flip-flops.
Yes. With no health insurance, no pay,
Right.
no means of knowing when your next meal is coming, right? But we continue to play the good guy, like we're doing the right thing here. So where do you see we meet in the middle?
Well, people want to do the right thing. That's the beauty of it.
Yes.
But the powers to be, the divide and conquer powers to be, manipulate us with these false ideas. I say to people, solar panels are not green; they're black. It's not the best thing for the environment to sacrifice forest land, hundreds of acres of forest land or productive farmland to these large mega array fields.
Right.
It's about just the exploration of finding out the details, finding out the information, asking questions, finding the experts, seeing where it all fits in.
Right.
A diverse energy portfolio makes sense.
Right.
It takes 10 years to build a nuclear plant, but Oliver Stone's movie talks about smaller scale nuclear plants. There's all sorts of opportunities on the horizon. There are other energy sources that people talk about that maybe in the near future. But it's having those conversations about really how can we get there without banning gas stoves for restaurants or blanketing upstate with solar panels.
Yes.
There are ways to do it. And New York wants to lead, and New York should lead with the amount of money that we have and the amount of resources we have to be able to spend on things. We should lead, but we shouldn't be leading with reckless haste,
Right.
like we did during COVID, and just going excessive with essential businesses and social distancing.
Well, it's always what they say, right? It's the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah.
You can have the right idea, but if you're not bringing in experts around you and you're not willing to listen to somebody who may have a different, idea from you, and actually sit down and take in what they're saying and pick out the parts that you don't like and say, okay, well, why don't I like those? And do a little bit of introspection on yourself of why you have a problem with it. Well, maybe they were right. But we're not
Exactly.
taking that time to do that. And that's why I like and that's why I like doing these podcasts, is because we can actually sit down for an hour, we can sit down for 2 hours, and we can discuss things, and you can actually get your whole thoughts out.
You're 100% right of what you're saying. That is the spirit of it. And I'm not a fan of the two-party system because it's binary, and it's very, and it's so antagonistic, and we're so divided right now. And
everybody's got to have a team, right? They got to have a tribe that they belong to. But it doesn't have to be that way. It's who has the policies that you believe are the best for what's going to move this country forward. And we were talking a little bit about earlier today. We were talking about what makes us proud to be Americans.
Yeah.
Right. Like, what makes you proud to say you're an American now, right? You're an Italian immigrant. Well,
my father.
Right. Your father's an Italian immigrant, so you're second generation
First
American.
generation,
First generation American. What makes you proud to be here? What makes you proud to say, I'm an American?
The Bill of Rights.
Okay.
The idea of freedom. The idea of liberty. the idea that our Constitution limits the power of government, puts it in 3 branches with checks and balances so that one branch can't overtake the other 2, and enshrines our rights as the sovereign. Because I think our founders believe, and millions of Americans throughout history, myself included, believe that God, whatever, the man was the optimal experience of man is free, not controlled or enslaved to someone else or burdened to someone else, but we should have that freedom.
Yes.
And government should never usurp our right to assemble, our right to speak, our right to defend ourselves. It's that idea of freedom where the Rotterdam Town Board or the state government or the federal government comes in, we have laws, and we are ruled by laws, not by men.
Right.
We don't have a king in this country.
Right.
And that was a thing that a lot of people kind of lost sight of during COVID. And it's that idea that I didn't really realize that a lot growing up, but I guess Ronald Reagan, when he was president, said the United States is a shining city on the hill. What does that mean? You look at the history of other countries throughout the world, and the influence of the American Revolution influenced other forms of government, and the old European system evolved to kind of be more freedom oriented and equitable, in not being ruled by a sovereign and limiting the power of the sovereign. And I see where we are at the dawn of the information age, and the ability that all this technology gives to corporations or governments to be able to control people, right. Psychologically or financially, if we go to a digital currency and other means. If we don't preserve freedom here, right, in this country, it may get snuffed out for 1,000 years for humanity, right, everywhere in the world. Right. So I'm very proud to be American. I know Americans don't speak other languages and aren't as cultured, and it's not perfect. It's not a perfect country, but it's great. And the fact that we're a melting pot of so many different cultures, so many different immigrants that come here and build businesses and contribute their cultural experience. I'm in the restaurant business, so to see all ethnic, I love food, and that diversity is a strength of this country, right, but it's the principles of freedom in our rights, our Bill of Rights, that make me proud and compel me to try and defend that.
Right. And defend it any way that you can, and do it the right way, right? Don't, and this is going to be a touchy topic for a lot of people. Don't go riot in the streets when, you didn't get your way, right? Don't burn down small businesses that had nothing to do with, some kind of political ploy. Don't attack the small business owner. Don't go after people who are in the community with you, trying to do things with you. You need to take that fight the proper way, which is what you're doing, to the powers that be, as we keep saying, right?
Yes.
We need to do that the right way, and we need leadership and somebody that can bring us there. And you believe that you are that person.
I'm just a person. Yeah, I mean, I'm one person, but a government of the people, by the people, for the people necessitates all of our involvement.
Right.
We've been very comfortable over the last few decades to just kind of want to farm things out. Yes. There's this ethos that I vote and that's enough. Well, voting is just one thing. It's really the kind of the bare minimum of what you can do.
Right.
Can you influence other people's? And we were talking too about talking about taking the streets and rioting. It's like that's 0 to 100 like overnight. And we're talking about there's an art to lobbying.
Yes.
And there's an art to saying collecting money. Start off respectfully. Start off kind. If you have to get there, don't go there right away.
Right.
But if you can kind of build that, and if you can kind of organize strength in numbers, then destruction is against the law and violating things. I guess
there's
yeah,
a civil way
that's
to
over the
handle
line,
these opportunities, right? That
Yeah.
are presented to people.
Yeah.
And I always recommend choose the civil path.
My father says you attract more bees with honey than you do with vinegar,
Yes.
and you get further by being more composed.
Yes.
This process has kind of led me to be that way.
Right.
I can be a little by nature fiery,
Yes.
and you know, being in this process has kind of tempered me down to be more effective in that way. And how I see the word fighting, right? It is just engaging in learning and sharing what I learn to empower other people to be able to understand how do we take control over our government of by and for the people. We have the keys.
Right.
We're there's a cynicism out there that there's nothing you could do.
Yes.
It's screwed. That's not I don't want to 30 years from now be looking back and thinking what I could have done.
Right.
Seeing the opportunity and doing it and just trying and just pushing, you know, and learning and gaining skills. And that's what I love about Rick is he embodies that. I'm not going to sit and wait.
Yes.
I'm going to find a way. And if I get to a dead end, I'm going to turn and go a different way. And it's that ethos that it's a very American spirit. It's a very entrepreneurial spirit. How do we do it? Don't tell me I can't do something.
Right.
Let's figure out how to do it.
Right.
You know, and a key part to having influence in government, I say over and over and over again, I think it's like a law of nature at this point. I'm trying to find a circumstance where this is not true. Everything in government requires persistence. In the private sector, it's a lot easier to just get things. I mean, Instacart, DoorDash, you can get things delivered. These are fruits of the private sector. Things can happen immediately. Government, by nature, should be slow because we don't want people making hasty decisions like signing leases to giant buildings with no windows.
Right.
And another kind of maxim of how what we need to understand how we have power is strength in numbers. Okay, so we talk about political parties, and we're unfortunately have two-party system in this country. But the word party means a good time, but it also means a group of people. A committee, by nature, means a group of people.
Yes.
It's getting those strengths in numbers. PrecinctStrategy.com promotes get involved in your local party and take it over. Use the apparatus of one of these two big the Democrat and Republican parties and take it over. And have that apparatus of that strength in numbers to do things. And when you're trying to petition for something, like we're talking about this 75% excise tax on cigars, we need more strength in numbers.
Right.
You know, one lonely voice crying out, we need to start building a case and getting more voices to contribute to that.
Right.
You know?
Well, that brings up a very good point. 75% tax on cigars. Again, Rick and I don't speak about that too often. I mean, publicly.
Just
but
happened. Yeah.
Just in general, the idea of the tax was to keep kids away from cigarettes, right? That was the thing they sold to the people.
You're right. I would think that was the idea. Yes, that people that didn't. Yeah.
But cigars are a different breed.
Correct.
Right? It's pure tobacco. There's no fillers. There's nothing artificial in them. I mean, there's flavored cigars, right? But that can come off the market, right? For a tobacco leaf that's grown in the ground, raised up, cut down, processed by literally letting it age in a garage, right? Rolling it, putting it together, and then stuffing it in a cellophane case. Then you buy it off the shelf. Where's the harm in letting adults make their own decision on, hey, I'm going to go enjoy a cigar,
Yeah.
right? Why is that wrapped into the same tax? Why is that not a separate tax, the cigar tax versus the tobacco tax?
Hey, we can hate on it, but I think you're right. There's a noble intention behind it.
Yes.
But what I've learned, and I'm new to the cigar world, there's a culture to cigar smokers,
Yes.
and there's an industry. There are businesses like Castle Cigars that when you nearly triple the tax on cigars. That changes businesses like Castle Cigars. And it's a little hasty that they did that. And it's my hope, being in the assembly chamber, to try and see. We were talking about, you go from 28% to 75% tax. you think that you think that the people not really giving it a careful evaluation in the legislature are like, well, that'll increase. We'll get more taxes out of cigars. Well, you know what? It might depress total cigar sales, and we might end up getting less. Right. Being too far to the right of the bell curve.
Yes.
So we'll explore that too.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking at that standard deviation inside of that bell curve, are you where you thought you were going to be, or are you way below?
Right.
Because my thought is you're way below. If you jump a price from 28% to 75%, forcing it on these small businesses to try to meet, their customer base is going to say, well, why am I going to buy it here? I'm just going to go to Florida. I'm going to buy it online. It's going to be shipped up here.
Yeah.
What's the point of me going into a shop and supporting local businesses, giving taxes to the local government so they can make changes in the community, which is what it's supposed to be all about. That's why we pay taxes. That's why I happily pay taxes, is because in my thought, it's going to go to the school system, right? It's going to go to public roads. It's going to go to these things that I care about, that I use every day, that I want the future of my children that may grow up here to have.
Yeah. You don't just hope. We do have a responsibility to make sure that those dollars are spent well and not wasted. And there is waste in government because government doesn't go out of business.
Right.
There are a lot of great people in government too, though. There's a lot of great programs in New York State that are very well run, very effective. But the cigar excise tax is an example of a hasty decision. I don't know the numbers yet, but there's definitely a consequence at the local level and in the revenue side of things too, that it should be more carefully done. But when the state legislature can't pass the budget on time, and it's just addicted to spending. And when the model for politicians to get reelected is, well, I got to give out money to the community. Here's a big cardboard check, and come to the ribbon cutting, and we'll just bloat more and more spending, more and more spending, more and more spending. Right. We're in a position where, well, then who suffers? Is it our seniors? Is it our young people? Is it our small businesses? Is it the cigar industry? We need to rein things back. And I'm fortunate in my business, raised by an Italian immigrant who came to this country with nothing. Right. My grandparents came here when they were my age with 10 kids, didn't have anything. So I know the value of $1. I turn the lights off when I leave the room. And I came up working with my father, where we didn't have, and we still don't have, a lot of capital. Right. Now I have a lot of warehouse space, and I'd love to fill it, but we don't have the capital to just spend money. We're a small business. We really, and we're trying. We work on a very tight margin, and I want to bring that. And I brought that ethos to the town board. A lot of people want money spent on parks and a new ambulance taxing district, or hold on. We got to be frugal with what we have and see what works and kind of build slowly. And I think the New York State budget needs restructuring. I think there's a lot of money in the Department of Education that could be better spent. Right. And I hope to work towards those ends.
Right. And that's not to say that you're looking to pull money from the education system. It's to see where is that money actually going. Right. And let's make sure it's spent in a better way.
Right.
I just want to make sure that's clear, because I don't want anybody to try to misconstrue anything, clip anything. I
appreciate that. Yes. And I'll make it clear, too, at 1 out of 150 assembly members doesn't have that power. And, when something's budgeted in the budget line, it generally doesn't go down. Right. It stays there. But there's plenty of ways to think more creatively about different educational models to really have success. Yes. And how do we... how do we stop this exodus of people and businesses leaving New York? Right. And energy too is something that, I'm in food service distribution. We have freezers and coolers. We spend a lot of money on energy. It's an energy intensive business. We, fuel to power our trucks. And there are other industries that use a lot of electricity that don't see a future in New York and are leaving. Right. So we need to think about what are we serving? How do we do it? And I believe in if there's effective communication and respect on all sides of the table, that we can get towards solutions.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
it isn't just simply defund this
Right.
line that and one legislator doesn't even have that power. So
Right, but you can start the conversation to get things moving.
yeah, and my goals, and I believe the goals in New York should be, how do we empower our young people better? How do we set them up for gaining wealth? And what are some debt-free educational pathways for them to get there? What are different models of education? It's about what is the effect of our policies? Is it what the people that put them in place maybe had good intentions, but it's just not working? All right, how do we rethink things?
Right. Absolutely. All right. Let me go ahead. I'm going to pull in some questions here from the viewers. Now, I pulled it up on my Instagram the other day, and I sent out a questionnaire. If you could ask a New York State Assemblyman a question, what would it be? We have 8 questions here, so feel free to answer them however you'd like. No timer on this. Again, talk as long as you need. What does your role do?
My role...
Your role as an assemblyman.
As an
what
assemblyman.
Would you do?
So, is to be a steward of the budget, taxes, where money's getting spent, and what are the policies that our state has. Okay? New York and California are the leading edge of some of the most radical ideas in this country. And we need to think through these ideas. Right. And if we don't kind of halt them and stop some of this radical ideology, it will. Everybody, I talk to people all the time that want to leave New York, and you have the freedom to go anywhere you want, anywhere you can take yourself. But if you think you're escaping some of the more radical policies in New York, it's only a matter of time before it gets to other countries if we don't start having a conversation in the legislature about the effect of these things. It will steamroll its way through Pennsylvania and Ohio and Tennessee and Texas. It'll get there. It'll get there eventually. And to answer that question, it's every family. There's a divide in every family, and I hate it, and so many other people hate it, and people don't want to talk. We should be free to be talking about ideas. That's how we get to better solutions. But in this antagonistic climate that we're in, it's not comfortable to bring up politics at the Thanksgiving dinner table. Right. Where those conversations should happen is in the legislature. That's the body that deliberates over policy. So I'm willing. I want to take that energy and into that body to be able to fully have those conversations productively, and not yelling at the TV or yelling at the computer. But in that body is where those conversations. I'm willing to put on the armor, take the slings and arrows, and get in there and have the conversations they need to have, so that people don't feel so frustrated at the dinner table in talking to their uncle or their daughter or whoever. It's that body where those special conversations occur, and take shape, and to be a representative where people can come to on all sides of issues and voice their opinion. And then as a representative, it's my duty to have those conversations with people and bring a different perspective to what they've thought, to take their perspective and incorporate it into what I think. So I'm like just a conduit of all that, all those ideas, and trying to find where the common ground is with everybody.
Right. Okay. Now, this second question here, I believe you've already answered it, and just by showing your character, you've answered this question over the last hour that we've been speaking here. I hate politicians. Why are you any different?
Well, I don't want to be a politician. I want to be a legislator. I want to be a representative. The word politician has a bad tinge to it.
Right.
And I'm willing to serve in the New York State Assembly in leading towards productive conversations and making sure people's voices are heard and understood. So I want to be a public servant. I want to serve this country. I didn't serve in the military. I have tremendous respect for people that did. I have tremendous respect for first responders, for firefighters, for police officers. And that's if you have the skill set to be able to, sign up and be a volunteer firefighter, and your phone goes off at 1:30 in the morning and wake up and respond to that, that's for free as a volunteer. I mean, that's a special thing. And those guys, that's a culture in the fire departments, and they're proud of that culture. But they have that skill set to be able to do that.
Right.
I feel like I have a skill set that I can communicate and compromise and not let my ego trip things up. But I don't want to be a politician. It's an uncomfortable suit to wear. I don't want to. I want to be a representative of the people, and I want other people to see their power as representatives. I think that at our founding, in its idealistic moment, that was the vision, that that people that are retired would serve at their local town board for a term in their life, or in the state legislature, or in whatever capacity people can serve. And I think we all have that duty at some level, not necessarily as elected officials or as candidates, but just on a very basic level, that the duty to govern ourselves, our state, our country. It's not on the king. It's not on someone else. It's on all of us to be able to, understand what's going on. And when you don't know what's going on, you have a question, who you should ask? You should ask your elected officials.
Right.
And the more we communicate and get to know our elected officials, the more power than we have.
Yes.
And when there's an election going on and there's 2 candidates vying for a single place, talk to both of them.
Right.
That's where your power really comes. And then the idea that you have, then your idea wins at the end, regardless of which candidate wins.
Right.
But we do have a duty to be invested in what goes on, in what policies we follow and adopt. That's what I'm learning. That's what I believe.
Yeah. Why should I take the time out of my day to vote for you, or in general? Let me see that later.
Well, 2 questions. I mean, why should you vote in general? I mean, if you're compelled to vote, you should vote. Most elections, there are multiple races running at one time. We have a presidential election this year. Most people know who they're going to vote for when they go vote.
Right.
But you get in there and you see there's someone running to represent you in the state Senate. There's someone to represent you in the state assembly. There's someone to, we have a U.S. Senator race this year. If you don't know, if you haven't studied for the test,
Right.
you're probably going to fail, but people are inclined to want to fill in every bubble that's afforded to them.
Right.
So why should you vote? If you're compelled to vote, vote. If you're so compelled to vote, or to vote for a specific race or a specific candidate, do what you can to promote them and share with other people what you think. Voting is the least we can do. It's that advocating for ideas or candidates that is the next step. Why should you vote for me? Well, I'd like people to think, at least give me a shot. I'm available. Reach out to me. I can. I want to be the voice of the people, and bring new ideas and a new approach to things. And I hope. I'd be happy to do that. I'd be happy to serve.
Right. And you spoke a lot about being a public servant, and I love that, because you're not taking it as, well, I can do this better than the other guy, or I can do this. You're saying, well, I want to listen to the people and bring their ideas and be a servant to the people. which is vastly different than what I hear from a lot of other people that are running for any kind of office. And to me, that's what I look for in any candidate for any race, right? Even if it's, something as simple as you can think back to when you were in school, right? Who you pick for your team leader, who you pick for your team captain. It's the person that's going to voice what your collective really agrees with. And it's not, well, they're red, they're blue, right? They're black, they're white. And that's one of the ones I hate the most, right? As being biracial, I mean, I'm Italian and I'm African. So you can't live in these tiny little echo chambers where you only hear your own people, your own voice. Get out there, talk to people with differentiating opinions, and then from there you can actually make a decision, right?
Yep.
You can actually introspectively look at yourself, say, what makes me me? What do I actually care about as a person? And does this person represent what I care about? And that's exactly what you're saying is you're going to represent what the majority are going to care about because you're going to be a servant to those people.
I want to represent everybody.
Yes.
And to be a representative is to hear everybody's input. And that goes all into the sauce. And that gets cooked in,
Right.
And the more everybody understands it. And I'm just would be just a representative.
Right.
And I, just one but it's all of us that come into the process, and I want to be able to maximize in everybody's input and everybody's voice in the equation,
Right.
and mature all of our understandings along the process.
Yes. We have a couple more questions here. This one's a silly one. Can you work on daylight savings time?
I'm not really sure, but I can confidently say that that's not a priority. I'm sorry. I know it's crazy. Ben Franklin initiated. I'm a big fan of Ben Franklin.
Okay.
And he initiated daylight savings time, but I know it's getting a lot of flack these days.
Yeah.
I'm open to anything, but that's not something that I'm going to spearhead or tackle. Yeah, I do think on a state level, New York. I think Arizona or New Mexico doesn't.
Colorado.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they don't have daylight savings time. So yeah, New York in theory couldn't, and if enough people came to the representative and said, we got to get rid of this, here's the reasons X, Y, Z, then I will take those reasons X, Y, Z to the chamber of the assembly and say, hey, we should look at this, here's some reasons to repeal it or adjust it or whatever.
Right.
But it's not, when we have reckless spending, when we have threats to our Constitution, when we have very radical policies in New York,
Right.
that's where my focus is going to be.
Let's take care of the major problems, and then we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Hopefully we come to a place where we can get to that.
Yeah, and I would say to that person there, I'm sure with the great blessing of the internet that we have, that there is a group of people that are against that, and if there isn't, help organize it on a New York State level, and make a case and bring people, get more numbers, get more strength in numbers, bring people to the equation, make a case and get after it,
Right.
and there probably is a case to be made.
Right. Okay. A couple more here. What kind of compensation would you receive for this position?
So a couple of years ago, the state legislators, they voted themselves a pay raise. They were making over $120,000 a year. Now they're making over $140,000 a year. And the legislative session begins in January and it ends in June. So it's over now.
So they're done.
They're done. So I was at the Capitol today. I was meeting with one of Senator Neil Breslin's staffers, and he was gone. And all the other legislators were gone. It's a lot of money for 5 months a year. And I can tell you that Rotterdam Town Board members make $10,000 a year. The supervisor who works 60 hours a week makes $13,000 a year. And the deputy supervisor, $13,000 a year. If anything, I believe, and there's not a lot of money in the Rotterdam Town budget to be able to increase these salaries.
Right.
But it's local elected officials. We have so many smart, talented, and great business people and people of all different walks of life that be great contribution to our local town government. But what's the incentive when, when I'm working 20, 30 hours a week, or more for the town of Rotterdam, but I have a business that where my primary responsibilities lie. I think local elected officials. I think local municipalities would be better served by better compensating their local representatives to attract better candidates and to be able to devote more time. And the money made at the state legislature it's excessive. It's just beyond excessive, and it really was an insult that they voted themselves a pay raise a couple of years ago in these economic times.
Right. And so, hold on. So they were making 120.
Yeah.
And then they decided, as a
Correct.
collective, that they were going to
Correct.
give themselves a raise.
That's right.
There was no body that could have disputed that.
That is the body, the
They are the-
legislature. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
The check on that is the people. Let's vote them all out.
Right. Yes.
And let's get this $237 billion budget under control. And if we got to peel back legislative salaries, let's do it. Let's find out,
Right.
where the fat is, and let's cut it. But let's not cut, the education and,
Right.
things that, we need to invest. There are people suffering right now, and there are social services, people on fixed incomes, people that are retired, seniors with this inflationary environment.
Yes.
I mean, they're getting screwed. Are we giving our veterans the type of care and that they deserve, that they earned? Hardly. I mean, there are programs that need investment, and we need to be able to divert those funds where they're most effective.
Right. Okay. How can your role help small businesses?
Well, my father owns my business. I come from a small business. I'm a small business person. I believe in small business. I believe in the free market. I believe in entrepreneurship. I believe in freeing up the barriers to entry to get new businesses and ideas into the mix. I think New York has an ethos,
Yes.
a tough ethos, a creative ethos, a leader to lead in a lot of ways, and that entrepreneurs bring that, small businesses bring that. We can't be just throwing the burden on small businesses because big businesses have ways of not paying taxes. We have to be cognizant of that, and we have to encourage it. Not everybody's an entrepreneur, but those that are cut out for it, they know they are. Right. And New York State actually has a lot of great programs. The Small Business Development Center at SUNY Albany and elsewhere throughout the state provides service for people that want to get into business to be able to. They help you write a business plan, and business planning is key. I see a lot of people get into the restaurant business without a business plan, and then instead of owning a business, the business owns them. Having a business plan with the financials worked out before you open the door, because once you open the door and you're working 70, 80, 90 hours a week, there's no time to kind of put together a business plan. You're not going to have the bandwidth, the energy, the time to be able to put something. Before you do it, you have the plan, you have the financials worked out. If you can take a vacation, or if you got to find out what you have to cut to make the goals that you need to do to pay your bills and to get on the track, that the plan that you work out together. And New York State actually offers those services for free. Right. So that's a great thing in New York.
Yes.
And we need to encourage that.
Yes, absolutely. And that's really another resource that we have here with the Cigars of the Castle podcast. That's why we really started it, is to assist some of these people who may be thinking about, hey, I want to start my own business. Well, hold on. I understand that you might want to start it, and I'm all for you. Let's do it. I mean, I started mine. But our tagline here is we have 3 simple steps to start a business. It's find something you're passionate about. That's number 1. Number 2, ask the questions. And if you don't know what questions to ask, find somebody that does. Find somebody that's in the industry right now.
Partner up.
And get with them, ask them, hey, what does your budget look like? Hey, what are you really spending on these things? Hey, what's going on? What kind of taxes are you paying? Ask the important questions there. And the third step is just be all in. If you're
Yep.
going to do it,
Amen.
do it. You have to be all in. You can't half step your way in. Well, I'm going to try it this day, and I'm going to take tomorrow off. I'm going to take Tuesday off. I'm going to take Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. No. You got to be all in. You have to work it every single day, and it
Amen.
doesn't stop. And that's the beauty of New York State that allows you to still have that entrepreneurial spirit. Like, it's still there. The people want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just so many, it feels like, barriers to entry
Yes.
that are perpetuated by these ideas that are sold to us from people who really don't live here, right? Or people who don't work here, or people who don't own businesses through social media and other platforms that people take in their daily content, right?
Yeah.
So how specifically can you encourage somebody to start a small business? What would you say to somebody who came to you and said, hey, I'm looking to start a small business. I'm really interested in disc golf and I want to sell discs. What would you say to them?
I would say business plan. Definitely.
Right.
I would say the Small Business Development Center.
Okay.
My father and I 20 years ago did an entrepreneurial boot camp
Okay.
at the Schenectady Business Center on Albany Street at the time. And that gave us that network to be able to ask those kind of questions about how to get thinking really deeply about what it is that we want to do. Mm-hmm. And I mean, those 3 steps, that's what it is, man, but a big part of it is having the plan. And the plan, not just with, what is it that I want to do? What are the market conditions? What are other businesses elsewhere doing that's successful? All that is planning, but a big part of it too is that financial piece. What money do I need? What do I need to invest? You start doing that level of detail, you take that to a bank. A bank will, maybe more than one bank will compete for it, will seek to fund such an operation.
Right.
And if you can hit those milestones that your business plan articulates, then those banks are going to want to continue funding you and providing other opportunities for you, seeing that you're someone who's all in, passionate about what you're doing, you love what you do, you're great at what you do. Right. You can grow from there. Yes. Don't back into it, and don't just kind of fall into it without giving it a lot of thought. And I think in this economic environment that we're in, people realize that the stakes are very high, so you got to proceed carefully, you got to proceed strategically. And with the internet, it provides a lot of resources for people to be able to think really carefully about what they want to do. But there is this cynicism out there, there is this despondency that will take people down. But it's just like the yin and the yang. There's a balance, and what compensates for that negative energy out there? It's people like Rick and it's entrepreneurs that bring that inspiration to other people, that show that hey, there is a way, there is hope. And it's the butterfly effect. If individuals that we meet in our lives are able to, give hope and encourage, we often don't realize, just little simple things of kindness that we do, I believe, keep the world from spinning off its axis. It isn't all just bad things, people doing bad things all the time. There are beautiful things that people do every day, kind things that people do, and acts of love and miracles that happen every day. Right. that give us hope. It looks like dark times right now, right. But I'm sure you're a podcast guy. You're probably familiar with Valuetainment.
Yes.
Patrick Bet David.
Yes, BBD.
The future is bright. Believe it, and it can be.
Yes.
We can talk about, I love Kathy Hochul's idea about banning smartphones in schools too. When I grew up, we didn't have smartphones, and I think that's the right idea.
Yes.
I know it's a little bit of a tangent point.
Right.
But we often can, condemn the phones, right. and talk about technology being bad. One thing I tell the people: have you seen 2001: A Space Odyssey?
No.
Okay. Well, at the beginning of the movie, at the dawn of man, when Cain kills Abel, he discovers a hammer or an instrument that's like a hammer, and he realizes what power he can do with it. And look at this. Now, a hammer is a piece of technology that's done tremendous good for mankind.
Right.
But at the dawn of this discovery of the hammer, Cain kills Abel.
Yes.
Oops. And we're at the dawn of this technology, and we're seeing the effects that it has on kids and young people's minds and how addictive it can be. We have to learn about these things and incorporate it into a brighter future.
Right.
And we can't let negative thoughts and your thoughts materialize. So if you have a view that my life isn't going to go anywhere, or the future is dark, or whatever, it will materialize through your experience.
Right.
But having that entrepreneurial spirit, that confidence that there is a way, there is a better future that we can have here, that we are not doomed. It's that vision, it's that hope that's needed.
Yes.
And when someone has a vision and an idea, partner up with a lot of people. Come here, smoke a cigar, meet other entrepreneurs that have ideas and think. And that's where your network gives you the confidence, gives you the plan, gives you the solid footing to be able to chart your course and to take your path.
Yes, that's it. All right, and we were given our 10-minute warning here, so we're going to go ahead and skip through. Actually, we have one question left.
Sorry, I can be loquacious.
That's perfect. And again, that's why I love podcasts, is because I can sit and actually listen and get to know somebody.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not watching a quick CNN clip, 5 minutes, a Fox clip, 2 seconds, right? You get 10 seconds to debate, go. And then, okay. Right? So, we'll wrap up here. How can you make a difference?
That's a tough question, Jesus says in the gospel, seek first the kingdom of God, and I believe seek that first. It's not about my will. It's about, the will of a loving God. He puts us in places to do things to make a difference, whether it's small, little, simple acts of kindness. But I guess to answer that question for that questioner a little more specifically is about bringing a different ethos to the process. About, let's get rid of the image of the politician that out cutting ribbons and smiling in photos, and let's actually make it about what a legislator is supposed to do, to communicate, to listen, to compromise, to form consensus, to move things forward, to find solutions, to fine-tune what it is that we're collecting people's taxes on and spending them on, and figuring out how to do it better. So how can I make a difference? I believe I can make a difference by bringing a different ethos to the process, by being a third-party representative in reaching to all spectrums of New York State, upstate, downstate, Democrat, Republican, and finding out where the solutions lie, and communicating them to the people, and bringing everybody on board, and being solutions oriented, and being a representative and communicating, taking people's ideas and explaining to people what's going on, empowering people, giving people knowledge, giving people the skills and the contacts and information to be able to come up with solutions, be part of the process. It isn't just the people that are elected that contribute to policy and to government. It's all of us. We all have that power to make effective cases to the people in government and push things forward. I had a great meeting today with a staffer in the Senate, and we were talking about common sense things. I was with Dean Romano from Rotterdam EMS, and we were talking about how the insurance industry has, it charges in funny ways for out of district service. And when you're talking about emergency service, that's not an in district. You go to your cardiologist in your insurance district. Okay, I get how that model, makes sense. But when an emergency happens, it doesn't matter what state you're in or whatever. That shouldn't be the insurance industry shouldn't choke off the efficient funding of those those things. Little tweaks all the time exist, and we can make a more perfect, more efficient, and more effective government if more people come to the table, if there's more conversation, if there's more eyes on the problem, if there's more ideas thrown into the mix, if there's more spices thrown in the sauce, we get more flavor.
That's it. Perfect. Well, Joe, thank you so much for coming on and
Thank
having
you.
just a little bit of time to talk with us here. Where can we find you?
JOE, the number 4ny.com. That's the place.
All right. And when is Election Day for you?
November 5th, 138 days.
All right. One day before my birthday, I'll make sure to get out there.
Cool.
All right. It was a pleasure, man.
Thanks, Mustafa. Appreciate you, man.